What's up, everyone? I'm Michael and from Lucky and Bad, and today I'm going to bring you my draft analysis for the UPL Season 4. The UPL is a showdown-based Pokemon draft league of 20 teams. Now, I've done uh, Pokemon draft leagues before, but never this big. I've done 12 teams, I've done 16 teams, but this is the first time I've done a 20-team draft. And that had some challenges to it, potential sniping from the more people, longer to wait until you pick, stuff like that. But despite all that, I think I came up with what is, in my opinion, one of the best teams I've drafted, and I think I'll really enjoy using. So, going into the draft, I had the 19th pick out of 20 teams. And I had the idea in mind that I could go with a rain team. I would go with Tornadus T at the 19th pick, come around, thought Mega Scizor would likely be gone, but could get Scizor, some mons like that function well in rain but don't rely on rain, and then later on I could get some rain mons at good value. That had low potential for being sniped because you generally don't go through for some of the rain sweepers unless you have the rain mons. However, Tornadus T was taken a few picks before mine at 19. So I kind of had to scrap that idea because, in my opinion, for my style, I kind of need Tornadus to be like the center of the rain team. So instead, I just kind of went with what was the best available, what was something I wanted to use, what was something I thought I could do well with. And for that, my first pick was Garchomp. Now, Garchomp is a mon that I have used in the past and had great success with. My best season with it had 19 kills and 1 death. Just a monster to prep for, a monster to play with. It's got great attack, really good speed still at 102, high HP, so you're able to make base 100 substitutes or over 100 HP substitutes, so that Seismic Toss cannot break your sub. And it's pseudo legendary, so it's just got good all around stats. It also starts a fire or a Fairy Steel Dragon Core, and it's just a good mon to build around. It can run a variety of sets, a variety of items. You could go Choice Scarf, Choice Band. You could run the defensive Rocky Helmet with Stealth Rocks and Dragon Tail. It's just so versatile and so good, and I really thought I could build a team around it. So the next pick I had was coming up really fast, being 19. I have a pseudo wheel, so there's only the one person picking twice in between me. So I could kind of start, as the draft goes along, start developing cores. So I picked a mon to go with Garchomp that I thought would function really well together offensively. By starting off with 2 big offensive threats, I could then kind of build the rest of the team around supporting these 2 Pokemon and having them be the ones that kind of lead the team to victory, get a lot of kills, whereas my other picks are more supporting mons for the most part. And so with 20 teams, I thought that Megas would go quickly. And that didn't end up being the case, but there's always the risk that if I didn't pick this Mega this round, it would not have gotten all the way back to me. And also, it's just really good Mega, and I wanted to make sure to get a good Tier 1 Mega that I wanted right away. That paired really well with Garchomp. That mon is Mega Diancie. The Mega Diancie is just a monster offensively. It's got base 160 attack, 160 special attack, and 110 speed. If you're not careful, it can and will sweep through a team. The only downside to Mega Diancie is that it's relatively frail, even with its base 110 defenses. It's got 50 HP and it has a 4 times weakness to steel, which has very strong priority users with Bullet Punch. But Garchomp works well around that. So Mega Diancie got a huge buff in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon when you no longer have to wait a turn to get the increased speed from Mega Evolution. You used to have to run Protect on Mega Diancie and Protect turn 1, and then the next turn you'd have the base 110 special attack. This time, you get that base 110 special or speed as soon as you Mega Evolve, which is huge, huge advantage. You can outspeed a lot of things base 110 and just get straight to hitting hard. It opens up another coverage move for you. Besides the normal Moonblast, Diamond Storm, Earth Power, Hidden Power moves it gets, it also gets set up in Calm Mind and Rock Polish. So either one of those is viable, and it just works really well with Garchomp. So I had to wait quite a bit till my next pick came around. And the next pick that I really wanted was Arcanine. I've used Arcanine in the past. It's probably my favorite fire type in League format. I just think it's great. But I did a little bit of a drafting strategy here. I saw that both Arcanine and Entei were still available. Now, I prefer Arcanine a lot over Entei, but I figured that if person drafting behind me would draft Arcanine, I would be happy coming around and getting Entei. The mon I went with my next pick, I didn't really have an immediate substitute for, and if it was picked, I wouldn't necessarily know what to do. So that mon I went with was Suicune. Suicune is basically the definition of a bulky water. It just sits there, does not die. The only bad thing about it is it doesn't get reliable recovery, but it's got the stats to run Breast and very commonly runs the Rest Sleep Talk Crocoon set that everyone has to be terrified with. In addition, even though it is a wall, more of a defensive Pokemon, it can be run somewhat offensively, especially with the Calm Mindset. It has decent speed in base 85, and base 90 special attack isn't bad. It's not completely passive, and I didn't really want a really passive wall that's easy to set up on. With this team, I really wanted to work on having some mons that could sponge hits, but that could also wouldn't lose momentum when they come in. That's probably some passive walls. You could switch it in, you could take the hit, won't die, but you really lose momentum, and the other team can come in and then capitalize on that. Suicune's really hard to necessarily just switch in and capitalize on. Also starts my Fire, Water, Grass core, which is very important, and I just thought it'd be an overall good fit for the team. Now, the fourth pick came around, and the person did not pick Arcanine, so I was like, boom, got it. I think Arcanine is one of the best, if not the best fire type in the format for its value. I really like Arcanine mostly because of its versatility. Sure, you can run it defensive with Intimidate, Will-O-Wisp, and Morning Sun, and it's got good HP, decent defenses, and that's what a lot of people run, and it'll make a great defensive pairing with Suicune. But the thing that I really like about it is that you can also run it offensively if you want. It only has 5 base attack lower than Entei, and people love to run Choice Banded Entei and spam Sacred Fire and Extreme Speed. Arcanine doesn't get Sacred Fire, he just gets Flare Blitz, but Flare Blitz actually hits harder, even though it causes recoil, and it still gets that Extreme Speed. So I could run it offensively if I wanted, and it could do just about as good as Entei. I really think it's a little mistiered in Tier 3. I think it could be higher, and I really enjoy taking it out of Tier 3. It's also got great coverage moves and Wild Charge, Combat, Crunch, so you could really fit it to what you need offensively from week to week, in addition to be able to run that defensively. And I really like the versatility of it because you don't know what your opponent might have a hard time prepping for Arcanine. So, these 4 mons that I've drafted so far really are starting to bring the team together. That's a strong core that I could build around all of these. However, there's some things that I really wanted to look at in the next couple rounds to start bringing things together. Needed some hazard removal. I don't have that yet. I wanted some momentum. I don't have that yet either. I wanted to get a knockoff user because knockoff's a great move and could get rid of items, especially when people draft Violite Pokemon. Need to get rid of those items, and it's just a good move overall. Didn't have that yet. And I also wanted at least one more rocker because I don't really want to have to deal with Garchomp or Mega DNC being my rocker every week. So, one of the Pokemon I was looking at that checked 3 of those boxes was Serena. And I was going to take it not in the 5th round, but the beginning of the 6th. And this is because the person behind me, again, Draft Strategies, already had a grass Pokemon, so I knew he was not going to pick Serena. So it's going along, Serena's still there. I'm like, cool, I'm going to get this. And then the pick before it gets to me, Serena's taken. So I'm like, crap, now I got to go with my backup, which is still a good Mon, and I'll get to that soon. But the Mon I was looking at to take the 5th round, because I knew I wanted it, and I knew that, again, the grass type wasn't going to get taken. I wanted this Mon for Stealth Rocks. It gets momentum, it gets knockoff, it's just very splashable. And that's Mesprit. Mesprit is one of the best Mons, if not the best Mon, out of Tier 4. It's basically a discount Mew. It gets a whole butt ton of coverage. It can be defensive if you want. It can be a defensive pivot. It can be an offensive pivot. It's in Tier 4, which is great because normally your Tier 4s and Tier 5s might be Mons that you only really bring in niche situations. They can only come in certain weeks because they help out the matchup, but you don't really have to prep. Your opponent doesn't really have to prep for them. You can't just throw them on a team. Mesprit, I can bring Mesprit every single week and I'd be happy. It just does that much. It is basically a discount Mew. Now it doesn't get defog, it doesn't get recovery, but it still does a lot of what Mew does. And it gets Healing Wish, which is great in the format, especially with my Garchomp and my Mega Diancie, that I could come, send in early, get down low, bring in Mesprit, click Healing Wish, boom, they're back up to full. That's a huge threat. Mesprit also gives me the rocker I wanted. I really wanted a rocker so that I didn't have to ever run Garchomp or DNC as rocker if I didn't absolutely need to. Another reason why I went Mesprit was, even though Uxie was still available, Uxie's a tier higher in Tier 3, and going in Tier 3 would still kind of limit my draft plan because I had in mind another Tier 3 to pick. And also it has better offensive stats than Uxie. I know it's not quite as bulky, but it can do more offensively, which is what I wanted. So coming around 6th round, I needed to get my grass type, and I really needed some hazard removal. Because I wasn't able to get Serena, I ended up going with Decidueye. Now, Decidueye is still going to be an excellent Pokemon for me. I think it might actually be better. It has decent all-around stats, as starters do. And it also has the best physical Ghost-type move in the game. In Spirit Shackle, it's got pretty good attack at 107 and good special defense at 100. Okay defense and HP, but it can still be bulky. It gets momentum in U-turn. It gets reliable recovery in Roost, which Roost is better than the synthesis that you would have got out of Serena. It gets priority, which Serena doesn't get, both in the form of Sucker Punch and now in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, also Stab. Shadow Sneak, and it gets Swords Dance, it gets Nasty Plot, and it gets Baton Pass. In this league, the only Baton Pass clause is that only one Pokemon can carry Baton Pass, and you can only pass one stat. But I could pass a Swords Dance to Garchomp. I could pass a Nasty Plot to Mega Diancie. That would be scary. I really think Decidueye is really going to help out the team as a bulky pivot, as a hazard remover, and as a possible stat passer. So going to the next round, these Mons were ones that I really wanted, and I'm surprised they fell. First one being Thundurus. I don't know how I got Thundurus in the 7th round. It is an excellent Pokemon, and it is going to be one of my Z captains. We have a Z budget the same as the GBA, which is you have 100 Z points, and Tier 1s cost 80, Tier 2s cost 60, Tier 3s cost 50, Tier 4s cost 40, and Tier 5s cost 20. So it's 80 points to use for Thundurus, but Thundurus is a great Z captain. You can run a physical set, and it can have Z Fly, and the physical sets become a lot more viable with the amount of defoggers present after Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. It can easily come in on a defog, get the Defiant boost, and start going to town. It gets a 100% accurate special fighting move. You can do Z Focus Blast, which is really cool. It's got great speed, and in addition to the Defiant ability, it's also got Pranksters. You go Prankster, Thunder Wave, Prankster, Nasty Plot, and Fast Electrics always do good in the format. I'm just super happy to have Thundurus, and I cannot believe I got it in the 7th round. Likewise, in the 8th round, I got Cobalion. Now, Cobalion has proven that it can do very well in League format as an offensive threat, which is nice to have, but I got it more for its supporting role. It gets Stealth Rocks, it gets Thunder Wave, it has Justified, so I can take knockoffs, get a +1 attack boost, and it has Volt Switch. It's really cool that I'd be able to set up Stealth Rocks, get out of there with Volt Switch, take a hit, get out of there with Volt Switch. It also has good speed, base 108, and that gives me a fast taunt. The only downside about Cobalion is that as my Steel type, it doesn't resist Fairy or Psychic, which is some of the risks you're looking for in a Steel type, but I still think it's really good and it will serve the team well. And if I needed to, I could always run a Swords Dance set, a Calm Mind set, and a Rock Polar set. You run Double Dance, you better watch out. If you're not careful, Cobalion will set up and it will sweep you. So the next pick I went with was Mon that I have a friend that really likes using it. I know under the radar, Kelly really likes using it, and I think Jolt's using it in the GBA right now. And that Mon is Alolan Persian. Now, the stats for Alolan Persian are pretty bad besides speed. However, Alolan Persian has 2 great abilities. First of which is Fur Coat, which allows it to be a really bulky pivot. Come in, take a hit, get out. And in addition to that, it gets Parting Shot, which not many Pokemon get. And what Parting Shot does is it lowers your opponent's special attack and attack by 1 stage and then switches you out. So it's really nice for coming in, getting off a Parting Shot, and then coming into Garchomp or Thundurus or Mega Diancie or something else, setting up and just being able to take more hits because your opponent's at -1 attacking stats, and then just be able to go at it and sweep a game like that. Its other ability is Technician, and it gets Nasty Plot. So that base 75 special attack, not necessarily looking too bad. You can get Technician on Snarl and all the Technician hidden powers. So suddenly your base 60 and attacks come up to base 90 coverage moves. there's a lot you can do with Alolan Persian, but it does take some finesse. But I think I could use it effectively, and I think it's also going to fit really well on the team. So for the next mon, I still need another fairy resist. So far, my only fairy resist is Arcanine. I also wanted a mon out of tier 5 that could effectively use Z moves. Most of the time, I will be using my Z move on Thundurus if I bring it, but I didn't want those 20 Z points that I get to put tier 5 to just go to waste. And one mon that I just seemed to fit my team really well out of tier 5 was Weezing. Now, Weezing is a great physical wall. It gets toxic spikes, which will really help out Mega Diancie, Thundurus, and Garchomp if they're going for a sweep. And it gets pretty okay coverage and would be okay using Z moves. It's not the best one out there, so it's a tier 5, but I think it's a really good tier 5, one that I can see myself bringing quite a bit. It only has one weakness to Psychic because of its Levitate, unless you have 1,000 Arrows or Mold Breaker, but I have other things to deal with that. And it gets Will-O-Wisp, so it could really be a good physical wall. And it's just gonna, and it has good coverage so that if I need to, I could put a Z move on it. I won't be useless. I think it's really gonna help out the team. So my last pick, I was looking at, and I still wanted something that was really fast, like over base 115, because right now I just have Persian, my fastest mono 115, which is good, but it's not necessarily a huge offensive threat, and there are a decent amount of mons that outspeed that. I wanted something fast, and I noticed I didn't necessarily have I only had one defogger so far. Thundurus does get defog in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, forgot to mention that, but it's such an offensive threat, I probably won't ever run defog on it. Maybe like once if I really need it, but more than likely it will never run defog. But I decided to pick a mon that didn't get defog until Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and it's very fast. And that mon is Noivern. Now, I was surprised to figure this out, and I don't know if you guys will not, but Noivern actually has the same bulk stats as Crobat, which is known to be a speedy, bulky, fast defogger. Noivern doesn't have as good of defensive typing, but it could do pretty much the same thing that Crobat can. It gets all out the same moves that Crobat does, just as a special attacker rather than physical attacker. And it's a tier lower, and I got in the last round. I really think Noivern is going to do a lot of work for the team this year as a good support mon. And I think it's really going to surprise some people with how good it can be out of tier 4. So that's my draft. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's going to be a great season. Leave a like, leave a comment below. See you guys later.